Welcome to Conversations with Lauren and Ali, where we bridge all things in the spiritual and human experience.
This is a space where raw honesty meets higher truth, where personal stories open doors to deeper self-awareness, and where the messy, magical journey of being human is honoured as a sacred path of awakening. So, take a breath, get cozy, and join us in today's conversation.
How have you been?
Not too bad, not too bad. I am feeling a lot of heavy energy this morning. I don't know how you're feeling, but I was good when I woke up, but as the morning's gone on, there's so much pressure coming in. I don't know why. So sorry if I seem a bit out of it, but I'm kind of
No,
like, I just don't know what's going on.
I hope you're not picking up on me. That's all. I hope you're not picking up on me. How I feel, and like Les and I had a huge blow up yesterday, and we never ever argue or fight. Like
Mm,
have our little, but
mhm.
this like really bringing shit up about our relationship and stuff.
Ah,
Yeah, so I hope that it's a collective, or it's not you're just picking up on my stuff.
oh, I'm sorry
Yeah,
to hear that.
nah, that's all right. We'll sort it out. But it's just, yeah, it's just
Yeah.
that self awareness stuff that keeps coming up, you know? Yeah,
And yeah, being in a relationship, everything is instantly reflected back to you, isn't it, too?
yeah. And back going, like, and me feeling really,
Mm,
like trying to bring that awareness back to me, like just slowing,
mm,
how it goes. It's like this is happening for a reason. Like I get that, but yeah, it just rattles me when this stuff happens because it doesn't happen very often.
yeah.
There's just a lot of that whole theme floating around. It has been for a couple of weeks. Like you and I have already spoken about it. And it's kind of like bringing attention to my patterns, my behaviors,
Mm,
and like for him telling me how he feels and then me telling him how I
mhm,
feel. Like
mhm.
some shit just blows up and it's like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So I don't know.
I mean, sometimes it's just in a way too, it's clearing the air. I don't know if that's the right word to use, but sometimes things need to be said, don't they?
Yeah,
But it's not comfortable to necessarily feel it, hear it, receive it, and process it
that's it.
as well.
That's I've even noticed that in some of my client sessions lately that it's been around that kind of thing, like just bringing
Mm,
it back to themselves where they might be expecting some fantastic cosmic or galactic fucking session that's like going to have all this cool shit that they want to hear, but it's so fucking human and it's so,
mhm.
no, we're going back to basics because you need to reconnect with yourself again. Or are you
Yeah,
doing anything like that?
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And I think this is the embodiment piece, isn't it? Because it's like you got to come back to where it all is. Like you got to come back and deal with it all in here, very
Yeah.
much so. I think it's interesting to notice too what is triggering us and where it's triggering us, and then what it's showing us. But there's always invitation to meet that more deeply, isn't it? And not everybody wants to do that. They want to travel in stars. And that's really just avoiding the like in a sense, that's bypassing the whole thing again, isn't it?
It is. It
Because
is.
we're here to be in the body and to I think if I could say anything, and I feel like I say this all the time, I'm sure people get sick of me, but it's like you can't go under it, you can't go over it, you can't go around it. You have to go through it.
Yeah.
And until you go through it, it's going to keep showing up.
No. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And the irony is that sometimes look, and there's varying degrees.
Yeah.
But sometimes going through it actually isn't as bad as we think it's going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right.
It's but we like it's in our conditioning to avoid the uncomfortable. Like, why would I want to be uncomfortable? Like you were saying too, it's like it would be easier to blame someone else. Like it would be easier to um make it somebody else's problem. Or I mean, that's a lot of what happens in the world, isn't it? Like even with war and whatever, we're all it's like projecting something onto somebody else.
Yeah. Yep.
So
Yep.
no, I agree with you. I think seeing a lot of that, and I feel like this year intensely so, and I know for me personally as well, because where can we complete this shit? Like, why do we keep putting ourselves through it? It is coming up and repeating, isn't it? Because it's coming up to be seen and to be completed.
Yeah.
Let's move on to, move past that.
Yeah. 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 And it's like that fun stuff, the fun stuff,
Uh-huh.
always going to be there. It's always available, but it's almost like there's other things in the way that need to be like looked at first or with first.
Right. Because everything has its place. So yeah, you can do more of that if you tidy up the base stuff.
That's it. That's it. Yeah. Yeah. And it needs to, like, it is the base stuff. Like it feels like it's back to basics. It's like back to, almost feels like back to square one. It's funny. I was literally about a week ago feeling this feeling of like, geez, I've been, and that's why I'm like all night I've been thinking, did I create this myself? Like how I'm feeling now and all this stuff blowing up. And because I literally was feeling, geez, I've been floating along for a long time now, like feeling pretty good, like majority, like within, do you know what I mean? And nothing's sort of
Mhm.
shaken me or thrown me off kilter too badly. I should have known that was, sort of like a message saying, oh, something might be coming, Lauren, to, shake things up for you again. Like it's time to, move the needle again. Like you can't just
Mhm.
keep sitting there. Yeah, that's how I feel.
Well,
Mm.
it's the next piece of that spiral, isn't it? It's like, yeah, you've been walking for a bit and now you've met that next point. I don't know if this is me or you, but I'm feeling a lot of solar plexus uncomfortableness as we're talking about this. Um, and it is also a little bit about when I think about that, and this could just be collectively because we are talking also collectively. This is the point of like calling back our power, isn't it? As well, it's calling back where we are maybe not allowing ourselves to see, or we're making it someone else's thing, whether playing the blame game or the victim, the martyr, whatever you want to call it, any
Yeah,
of those pieces.
yeah,
It's like calling all of that back. And I mean, I still stand by this energy of, for particularly the feminine, but I think it goes across the board about that bringing back that primordial energy of the light and the dark and
yeah,
bringing all of those parts of us there. And also, you then have on top of that, it's like that's just in the human body, and then bring in your multidimensional aspects and cells and awareness. Like that's what we're being kind of asked to do is to bring all of those parts together
yeah. Mm-hmm.
in this body. So you're also probably going to get the parts of you, the multidimensional parts of you, maybe too, that are also not necessarily willing to want to be present. I think we always focus on, don't we? Like it's the gifts of this and that and the good parts. But then
Uh,
what I'm noticing through a lot of sessions at the moment too is that when people are coming in for integration or they're moving through something, that it's soul aspects that need to let go of the pain too. It's the karma, the trauma, the whatever. So it's kind of, I don't know if that's the heaviness maybe that I'm also feeling around this, is because it's not just what we have in the physical too. It is that element then replicated as above, so below, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah. That all of those things have been running themes yeah, for me personally and in all of my client sessions, all of those,
Hmm.
that the martyr, um, soul aspects that are resisting
Yes.
want to,
Yeah.
but they're literally, like, I had a really interesting session with a girl, probably 2 weeks ago now, who she's working with a soul aspect, like a galactic aspect of her, who has been through some, like, went through some extreme trauma and power struggles, like afraid of her
Mhm.
power kind of thing, this solar plexus stuff and stepping into your mastery and all of that, that it's like it's time. Like there's the embodiment, the integration is, it's starting to trickle through, but there's so much resistance. Like it's been really interesting. She's worked with a couple of people, and I'm one of them, on trying to figure this out. But there's this
Mm-hmm.
soul that's sitting there waiting, but is so resistant because fear of her own power, basically. And I think that that's, there's so many of us. And even another session I did yesterday or the day before was around that fear of her own power.
Mm-hmm.
um, and that martyr, or that, like, these aspects of our soul that have taken these vows, or entered into contracts where, you know, because shit's gone wrong or whatever in another experience or on another dimension, or however you want to look at it, that aspect of them doesn't want to come forward now because they're worried that that's kind of going to happen again.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
got to be done at a base level, like you said, like all of those multidimensional aspects of self that, like you described earlier, that it's like they're there, in the field, but they can't, like, we got to deal with the human stuff. We have to create the foundation at that base level in our bodies and in our humanness before they are going to be able to be comfortable and feel safe and anchor in. There's got to be the right environment there, I suppose.
Yeah, I agree because I think half of it is the resistance from the multidimensional self or the soul aspect. And then you counter that with the body saying, well, hang on a minute, that's not safe. I don't want to bring that in.
Yeah,
Um, because I think there is a lot of crossover between the trauma that's held by the soul aspect and then the subconscious element that's already sitting with the body that's
yeah,
creating the resistance or the polarity of that, like not wanting to even come together.
yeah.
It's really interesting, I think, because this is why I believe this. We're just going to keep seeing this more and more because we are here for this physical ascension
Mm,
and the acceptance that it begins with us here, it begins with us in the body, and that it all happens through the body as well.
yeah. Yes.
Really, it's the multidimensional portal.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And I suppose our attention has to be drawn in some way back to the reality that we're in, like what's directly in front of us. Like you said, you got to go through it. You can't. There's no other way. You can't keep avoiding it. You've got to go through it. Like,
Because the irony is the map, the roadmap is what's in front of us.
yeah,
Again, just my belief, but what's triggering you or what's coming up or what the pattern is that's presenting itself, what you're experiencing in your reality is directly mirroring to you what is ready to be addressed and what's ready to be dealt with, to
yeah,
be accepted, right? Really, that's it, accepted, maybe released, but I think acceptance probably covers all of that. Like in the moments that you're saying about somebody who is in fear of their power, it's about accepting their power, isn't it? That it really enables the transmuting of the fear.
yeah, yeah,
But for some reason, we find acceptance really challenging. And I know I do personally.
yeah,
Um, because what does that say about me? What does that mean about me? What does that change? The fear elements go off, which comes back to the survival programming that we have.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
Which is why, as you said, we then come back to, okay, what are the simple base foundational practices to work with nervous system,
yeah,
physical body regulation, to create the environment with which we can find some stability and security to allow this to kind of move through without
yeah,
feeling like it's like pinging us and you know what I mean? Like we're reactive and we're bouncing off. Whereas if we have that neutral, safe foundation, it's like you can actually just let things move through you more and more and more.
yeah. And but to do that, you have to allow yourself to feel vulnerable. And I think, like, when you the word acceptance, that was like, ooh, for me too, like that pinged, because sometimes I feel like acceptance is, it can almost feel like giving your power away, or um, a weakness, even like feeling vulnerable and feeling like you're not in your power, feeling like it's a weakness, like, okay, I just have to not fight this anymore. I've got to just accept this.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that it can move through. Mm.
Yeah, which is again the survival play because it says like I'm trying to keep you safe here and it's not safe to be open, vulnerable. It's not safe to see things in a different way because yeah, I guess we've learned we need to protect ourselves from this. Um, and that's the biggest thing that I notice in general is the subconscious kind of what I call reversal of that. So it doesn't matter how much you think something, if your subconscious is in reverse of that, it's going to always pull you back, isn't it?
Yeah,
And that's the weird part about self-sabotage is we're keeping ourselves in this loop and in this cycle, but it's at that subconscious level. So half the time we don't even realize.
yeah. And know that our behaviors or whatever are actually reflecting that, until
Yeah.
I can get faced with that, something that brings you back to that self-awareness where you actually recognize and go, oh my God, like, okay, I get the picture now. I've been doing this, and it's coming from somewhere deeper that I maybe don't understand right now, but I know that it's there.
And what I love about that is that sometimes self-awareness is 95% of the work, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you can be aware of that, how powerful is that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If, as soon as you recognize it, it, like, just that recognition and that
Mm.
some acceptance in itself is enough to just to
Yeah.
shift it, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. Or to start
And
the,
yeah, I was going to say maybe I'd actually I want to revert that to 90% because I think then you've got 5% of self-responsibility and 5% of self-acceptance and give you that. But I think that I just think self-awareness is so powerful because you can't take responsibility without the awareness
yeah.
or accountability without the awareness. You can't take acceptance without the awareness. Um, and
Yeah.
I guess we you can see in the collective, can't you? Those who are not self-aware and those that are.
Yeah.
There's a polarity.
What was showing up for me first, and I know for you, like, we'd had discussions,
Mm, mm.
and then it's made its way back to my world. And it's like, it's kind of like that was at a collective level, you could see it first. And like, there's some wild shit going on out there in the spiritual community that I've been seeing lately. I'm sure you've been seeing it too. And I'm just like, wow. It again, it comes back to self-awareness. And there are some people who are literally on the opposite end of the scale, where they are so, allow themselves to be so open and vulnerable and free in expressing themselves. And this is hard to describe, hard to explain what it is that I can see and feel happening, but it's to a point where they're so, it's almost like they've got no inhibitions at all. They've let their inhibitions go to such an extent that they are no longer self-aware.
Yeah.
And it's fucking detrimental. Like, some of the things that are being shared, some of the things that are being spoken about, it's almost like there's people that are just completely and utterly bypassing. And I don't like that word, but it feels like that's what they're doing. They're bypassing their own shit by being so disconnected from themselves and their own self-awareness and what's happening within, that they're just floating around, somewhere else outside of themselves, and not being accountable for themselves or dealing with their own stuff.
Well, they've allowed that ego that ego consciousness back in the driver's seat, haven't they? Because it, it's kind of slipping out of that alignment of their own inner self-awareness and into the ego. The ego is potentially speaking through. I'm curious as to why we're seeing this right now, and there's probably lots of different reasons, and I can think of lots of different reasons for it, but it does seem particularly polarizing or divisive. And I know we go through these cycles in the spiritual
Yeah.
community, but very much at the moment. And it's been interesting because if I think about then, for me, it's like, okay, well, what is that showing me about me? Like,
Yeah.
why am I seeing that?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's really interesting to, this is just what's been coming up for me personally this week. It's drawing into that sense of where is my discernment? Where is my alignment? Where is my self-awareness and
Yeah.
self-responsibility?
Yeah.
And can I take in those perspectives? Can I take them in and just also still be, centered and rooted in my
Yeah.
self-awareness and my pillar of higher consciousness? And can I not also let that drag me out and think that I have to follow that or
Yeah.
that I have to compare myself to that?
Mm-hmm.
Um, because that's something that I didn't realize I would do a lot. I would allow myself to be swayed by these things. And so I wonder if it's giving us this opportunity. And again, I'm taking this because it's my own personal experience at the moment to align more deeply to our truth and to our our pillar and
Boom.
and discernment.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
what ends up, it'll be interesting to see with some particularly big personalities in the space, or I don't know, do you call them influencers? But it'll be interesting to see whether anything changes for them or whether whether they swing themselves back, because have they been playing a role for us in the collective, or has there been an element here that's their personal journey, but we've all just happened to we're going to respond to that perhaps in different ways.
I think it's I think it's a combination of both, definitely. Like, it's obviously there's people that are, that there's things coming up that is part of their personal journeys, and then them having that platform as an influencer or whatever. There's a bigger part of, I think, soul contracts, or however you want to look at it, that they are here to ignite whatever it is they need to ignite. And it's like everything you just spoke about. I think there is those people that play that role, and it happens at all different levels. It happens right in front of us in our own little bubbles, in our own little worlds, and then it's happening at a greater scale, at a collective scale, with these influencers. Speaking about things or sharing things or projecting things, or however you want to look at it. And it's like you said, I think we get presented with this stuff, and then to me, all it is doing is directing us back within, like you said, to our own truth, to our own discernment, because we come across these things or these people or these teachings or these, people sharing things, and we go, whoa, like, no, that does not align with my values. That is not my truth. And then it makes you think. It brings you back to yourself, to your own heart, to your own values, to your own, like you said, your own pillar. And you go, where do I sit with that? No, that doesn't feel right to me. And it shows us, like, it's bringing us back to that sovereignty, isn't it? It's bringing us back into our own power. Where we get to decide, and okay, that's not my truth. But again, there's that the other side of the coin, where it's also, you get to kind of see you get to see yourself the way you might react, whether you're in that kind of neutral space or whether you're judging.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, whether, how you react to things, or you're like, okay, that's that person's truth, and that's fine, like, I'm okay with it, but it's not mine. But I just think that there's some stuff going on at the moment, and being shared in the spiritual community, that can be like, it's almost, I don't know about the word damaging, but I'm just sort of struggling to describe it in any other way, for those people who who are not familiar with their own truth or comfortable and fully aware of what feels right for them. They just kind of get guided along and go with the flow, and they're not coming back to themselves, and they're not questioning things, and they're not feeling into what's their own truth, and they're just taking things on and into their
Mm.
field that is so far out of alignment with them, but they just maybe don't even recognize it.
No, and I completely agree with you. And I think what's coming forward in my awareness right now is a reminder that has been coming through for me for a few weeks now, is about this is why people like you and I, why our voices and us expressing our truth and our insight, our take on these things is so important, because it's to give all of the information.
Yeah,
So it is a time where we're really being asked to speak about these things. And again, it is from our truth. And we can weave this right back to where we started, because what we're being invited into is a space of unity consciousness, is
yeah.
by you can have your truth, you can have your truth, I can have my truth. And it's, again, non-judgmental, non-attachment. It simply is in neutrality. And
Mhm.
that's where we are moving to in unity consciousness. But I think that this is something, personally, what rises in me when I say this is I have fear of speaking against, not against, that's not the right word, but fear of speaking my truth,
Yeah.
knowing that it is not what is largely
Yes.
populated across,
Yep. Yep.
the spiritual community. And that brings up the fear within me, because I don't want to be seen as different, or I don't want to be attacked or persecuted for being different. But
Mm-hmm.
I have, on the other hand, my guides pushing, 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 saying, you have to say the things. You
Yeah.
have to, because some other people need to hear that as well.
Yeah. There's people that are ready to receive that, and that's part of what you're here to do.
And I think that's why we're having this conversation today, because it's got clearer and clearer and clearer as we've gone through this. I don't know if you're feeling this, because we talked about sharing our conversations with the collective. And what we're really doing here in this moment is activating our throat chakras.
Yeah.
We're activating our solar plexuses.
Yeah.
We are activating, because this now, what we're talking about, we're going to be sharing. And
Yeah.
this is going to be the start of a series.
I can feel that this is it. This is the first one. This is the first one, and it feels it's uncomfortable for me to sit and go, do you know what? We're going to put this out there, and people will probably get. Some people might not receive it, but yeah, I totally.
But this is how we lead,
Yeah.
because we show others that they can lead themselves through these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm feeling the exact amount of fear that you're feeling right now. And I can see where the messaging that I've been receiving internally over the last few weeks has been leading to this point.
Yeah.
Even up until yesterday, I was hearing things and I was like, oh, I hear what you're saying, but I also think this is another perspective. And I think it's time that we add our voice to the conversation. And I'm saying we, and I'm talking to the people who are going to listen to this. It is not just you and I, this is the we, that we are
Mhm.
all here to add our voice to the story.
Yeah.
And it's not about attacking anybody else. It's not about judging anybody else, but this is just about saying, hey, well, here's my perspective. Here's my truth. How does that feel?
Yeah.
Because that's what multidimensional awareness,
Yeah.
that's what unity consciousness is. It's seeing it from all of those perspectives and facets and saying, okay, it is what it is. That,
Yeah. And having the ability to sit back and go, yeah, like, and just know that everyone's always going to have their own truth. Your truth is different to my truth. Ours is different to, do you know what I mean? But that's
mhm,
the whole point of this conversation, is to guide people back to their own truth, their own sovereignty.
yes,
Fucking think for yourself. Use your discernment. Like,
correct.
yeah, you don't have to agree with with what is going on, collectively or in the mainstream, or and to and to let other people know, I suppose, that it is that we feel that we feel that fear and that uncomfortability coming up around speaking about just something like we've spoken about today, you know.
Absolutely.
It
Absolutely.
yeah, and without even like I haven't even used any examples. Like I haven't, like we haven't even spoken into anything specific.
Mm-hmm.
In a broader kind of, I
Mm-hmm.
think everybody knows, like we all know that there's some that this is going on at the moment. And
Absolutely.
I
And
don't
it
think
always is. It always is. It's just particularly prevalent. Yeah.
it always will. It's the nature of a space like the spiritual community, isn't it? It's there's
Hmm.
always going to be, you know, different truths being thrown around and different theories and different teachings and different like it is the nature of it, and that because it's a multi-dimensional space, there's shit
Hmm.
coming in everywhere, you know.
Hmm.
um but I think that it's yeah, it's I think that it all just comes back to that basic level of um you get to choose, like that's part of your, you know, your power is that you get to decide what feels right for you, and to understand and to look at it like at that collective level, and accept that everyone is always going to have their own truth. We're not always all going to agree with each other. Um, yeah.
And if something is triggered in you when you or expanded in you when you're hearing it, look within. Bring that back to self-awareness. What is here for me to learn more about myself?
Yeah.
What do I need to see to witness within myself?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, exactly. Like there's something in it. There's a reason that we come across things and that we are exposed to things
Yeah.
for that. And
And, and I think it's important to bring just the openness to it because again, we don't want to encourage judgmentalness here with self.
no,
It's just about being curious with that and saying, okay, well, why is that making me uncomfortable? Why am I angry when I hear that? Or whatever it might be. Um, but I think we're coming into this age of seeing how powerful our voice is, how powerful our words are, our thoughts are, our energies more than ever before.
yep,
As you said, because it's our power, it's about how we create this reality. And
yep,
then how do we want to, like, where do we want to put that? That's
exactly.
that's the responsibility piece. Where do we want to put it?
Where do we, yeah, and how do we want to lead with it? Like, you know, you and I have spoken so much about self mastery and leadership, and mastery is like really at a base level is this stuff, isn't it? Self mastery,
Hmm.
being aware of stuff that's coming
Yeah.
up within. I actually saw somebody that I follow on Instagram. You know how everyone's been putting up those, I don't know if you've seen them, five propaganda that I don't agree with or whatever. I don't know if you've seen any of those.
No, I haven't seen that.
It must be like a trending thing because I've seen them all over the place. But
Okay.
one of the things that somebody put on there was that she doesn't agree with is that everybody is a mirror of us, like everybody is a reflection of us. And
Mm.
it made me think, and it's like speaking into what we've been looking at in this conversation is like
Hmm.
that typical saying of you know, everybody is a mirror for us, like everybody is a reflection of us. And I agree because it got me. I was like, oh, I don't know about that. How do I feel about that? And then I was like, actually, I agree with what she's saying. Other people are not a direct mirror of us. Like we're not looking at someone and their behavior or their patterns or their projections or whatever is exactly what we do. Do you know what I
No,
mean?
no, I agree. Yeah.
A mirror for us to look at ourselves and what, you know, maybe we need to look at internally and within, rather than maybe I just misconstrued what that sort of saying means. Like everybody is a mirror for us, like everyone's a reflection of us. And I've looked at other people's behavior before and thought, fuck, is that what I do? Like, am I doing that? Is that me too? But now I can see it in a different light, that it's not as direct as that. It's more where, they are acting as a mirror simply to guide us to look at ourselves in the mirror
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
see where, maybe we do need to look at something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with that because I think that it is about how do I feel in response to that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think that every person that you meet is mirroring exactly back to you.
Yeah.
But I think how you feel, how you're reacting, or what it's making, like what it's bringing up for you,
Yeah.
is is definitely a point of awareness to bring that into.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, I'm trying to think of an example. I think the best way I can describe it is having been in the corporate world for like most of my life. You always find that person that you really, it just rubs you the wrong way. Like there's always one person in a team or in a meeting, and it's like everything they say and everything they do, and it's just like, oh, here we go again. Oh, here we go again. And after a while, when I started to get into this more of the self-development and inner work, I actually checked myself on that. Why am I judging that person? Because that's effectively what I was doing, was judging that
Yeah.
person. And it's like, well, actually, I really, it's because they're always talking about all the things that they're doing and how good they are at this and how good they are at that, and they're getting rewarded for all of these things. And so then it was like, okay, well, that makes me uncomfortable because I don't do that. And then it was like, oh, okay, because I feel like within me, I've been told to stay quiet, to sit quietly, to be seen and not heard kind of feeling. And so then it was like, oh shit, I just actually want to be like that person. I want to be able to speak freely and share like I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And like there was actually nothing wrong with these people in that it was triggering within me the parts of me that didn't feel like they could do that. And so therefore equated it to being wrong or whatever. Um,
The perfect example, because it's like you're not looking at that person and being irritated by them and going, oh, that's a direct reflection of me. Do I behave like that? Am I like
no,
that? Other people see me like that. It was exactly it it shined that light. It illuminated something within
yeah.
you. Oh, hang on a minute. That's setting me off because I'm not allowing myself to be seen and heard the same way they are. Like, yeah, yeah,
And that to me is probably not my direct example, but I think the way of receiving it is such a good way to look at some of these connections that we have or the things that we notice, because taking that way through every aspect of my life has been really interesting to reflect back to me where I've been playing small, where I've been dimming my light, where maybe I've been suppressing my own voice or power or whatever it might be. And I think that that's to me, that's sort of what self-awareness can look like practically. And maybe that's coming forward as a way for people to play with that in their own way.
yeah, yeah. And these people that it's like almost like that, that particular person is like, even though it felt like they irritated the shit out of you and they were really stirring something up, it's like they're almost an inspiration or they're almost an activation, aren't they? Like
Hmm.
that's the role they're playing for you, is inspiring that within you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Inspiration, it's like, yeah, it's what's sparking something within you to realize that, you can be like, you want to be heard, you want to be seen,
Mhm.
you want to celebrate yourself, you want to be recognized for what, not from not in an egoic way, but um yeah,
No, no, but it was interesting to also, we I think it's interesting because we always hear that phrase, relationships are our greatest teachers. And I know I say it a lot as well. But I think this is really why, because this by doing that little process with self-inquiry, which is really
yeah,
what it is,
yeah,
self-inquiry, it's like able to also to dissipate any reactivity. It's able to dissipate some of that judgment that maybe you're throwing at somebody else that really is what the mirror is doing is you're landing that judgment back on yourself. And so
Yeah.
you're just heaping more on top of that subconscious awareness.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so if you can bring some acceptance to that, and I'm going to take it one step further because the other example that comes to my mind is is doing a lot of inner work after my marriage ended, and I was firmly in the
Yeah.
victim there, and that served me to sit in that because it felt like it justified a lot of the things that I did. And then when I started to unpack all of that and able to really find, it even makes me emotional thinking about it. And I'm talking, this probably took me 15 years. I'm not going to lie, this took me a long time. I say this to people all the time because I feel like if I've learned anything from that experience, I would love to share it so it doesn't take someone else that particular length of time.
Yeah.
But if you can allow yourself to be responsible for your part in what was that showing up for me in that way?
Mm-hmm.
Um, you can actually find acceptance, which means you can find forgiveness, which means you release yourself
Yeah.
of carrying the
Mm-hmm.
judgment, the criticism, I don't know, the anger, the hate, the resentment, the sadness, the grief, whatever it might be,
Yeah. The victim mentality.
the victim mentality, all of those things. And you can step out of that and stop playing small because
Yeah.
that's what we're really doing when we do this. We're dimming our light and playing small and free ourselves. I think this is we're coming back to for me coming back to sovereignty because we're freeing ourselves back into that power again and that ability to remember that we have uh, the power to choose and to shift our reality and to make our choices
Yeah.
different in every moment.
Yep.
So I know I kind of took us on a long way around of that there, but I just feel like, it can be applied in so many different
Mm-hmm.
ways. And that sometimes, I spent a long time, for example, also thinking I'd wasted my time and wasted
Yeah.
15 years of my life.
Yeah.
But now when I look back at that, I see that was actually such an important lesson that
Yeah.
I walked and an initiation, if you like.
A massive period of growth. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think too, if we can also approach anything that we are receiving in life, and I try to do that now with things that are coming up with relationships
Yeah.
in all shapes and sizes, family, friends, whatever it might look like, is how am I showing up in this? What am I bringing? What do I need to be aware of? What's mine in this that I can be responsible for and that I can choose if I want to bring it, react, or just be with it, or maybe this is not in alignment at all.
Yeah.
I think we would find ourselves making some different choices, therefore not seeing so many repeating patterns.
Yes.
And we would be experiencing the freedom, the joy,
Yeah.
the peace, the contentment, the fulfillment, whatever it is,
Yeah.
more than we allow ourselves to do now.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Yep. Yep. If you can look at all these people, like I have a way of looking back at periods of like that, of hardship, of challenge, of pain, of those initiations or whatever those experiences are, the big ones, and the people that are involved in them, maybe, on the other side of it, like relationships or, like you said, friendships or, other types of relationships. They have, I find it really helpful to me. And I often reflect this to Les with things that have happened in his life as well, that those people played a role in our growth, in our expansion. It's almost like you can see that you've signed a contract or something has been agreed upon before you came here, even though they might seem like an asshole or you might have certain feelings towards them because you've been wronged or hurt or whatever it is. But having that recognition and acknowledging and accepting that that person, that soul, played a part in
Mm-hmm.
your growth. And if it wasn't for them and your relationship with them or your interaction with them or your experience with them, you know, you wouldn't have experienced that expansion as painful
Mm.
as it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, I think we have to look at all of our experiences like that because, you know, I talk about that stuff all the time too. It's like the wisdom that comes from those things like marriage breakdowns and,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like any of that painful stuff or challenging stuff. It's where we grow. And when we talk about growth and expansion, it's that self-awareness again. It's come, you get forced into a place where you have to come back to yourself and
Yes.
out, like you said, be accountable for your own shit and for your role in things and how you can act differently or not react, you know,
Yes.
moving forward. Like that's growth. That's,
Mm-hmm.
you know, um, yeah,
And we should add to this that it's not always easy. And this is the part about spirituality, that it's not all love, light, journey in the stars. This is mostly what it is
yeah,
sitting with your own shit and being
yeah,
okay to sit with your shit. And
yeah,
sometimes that takes days, weeks, months, years, and then
yeah,
other times it's done in a blink of an eye.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's the human experience is the spiritual experience. Like the human
Yes.
journey is the spiritual journey. I've said this before. It's like when you come to realize that something changes. So,
I love that. The human journey is the spiritual journey.
yeah, yeah. It's I wrote it in something I remember a little while back that dropped in, and like I said, something really clicks into place, and you really start to
Mm-hmm.
honor your human and honor your human experience and your physical experience as the base for where all of this, you know, happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you can't just keep, you know, disconnecting and like you said, just traveling through the stars all the time because we're here.
Yeah, and that's still not partaking in, if we think about the basis of what we've, I don't know if we've been led to believe or it's what you believe, because I'm going to leave that to each person to decide. But, if my understanding is that I've come here to experience this physical form, and yes, potentially taken on some roles and missions within that. But as part of the human experience, I know I have to feel things, I have to learn things, and my soul wants to evolve. And I personally, again, this is just again my personal belief and truth, is that the more I have um, shown up for myself, the more that I've been self-responsible, self-accountable, self-aware, and brought the self acceptance, is like I keep hearing, like it's like I'm moving through that evolution. I'm not ticking off, that's not the right word, but it's actually at a soul level having more impact by doing the work here in
Yeah,
this way, because the mastery piece is something you and I have journeyed with
yeah.
together. And so this self mastery I keep hearing is leading to something that my soul is going to experience past this particular lifetime.
Yeah.
And so it's actually less about what is happening up here and more about what's happening in here that is also going to have that greater impact as
Of
well.
course, that makes beautiful sense. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think, like we know we are here for that. We are here for this human experience. That's what we're here for. Like
Mhm.
there's no and the only way that we're going to even be able to take on any of that stuff that we discover beyond this realm, which, yeah, we know we have access to that stuff and it's fun and it's beautiful and it's enlightening and it's all of those really cool things. But what use is it? We can't even, you can't even make use of it if you're not here and present and anchored and aware of yourself. Even people talk about, and I talk about it a lot in my work, is like, finding their soul gifts, like finding that you're here. You've got to be here too. And like, look at your human shit instead of just looking out there for something that, your soul has experienced or your soul carries wisdom on, or whatever it is. But it's not going to come to light unless you're anchored here and you are aware of yourself and your own, the workings within your own body and how you are connected here to this reality and to earth.
Right, because the point was that you came into physical form to bring that to the physical
Yeah.
reality, to the physical planet. Because if we've there's so much non-physical support, but they can't do a lot of what we can do because they're not here in the body on the
Yeah.
planet,
Uh-huh.
in the physical realm. And so I think that's the key piece too, that sometimes people don't understand the power of the embodiment or being, anchored here, planted here,
Yeah.
being present here,
Yeah.
and not going out to get it, but bringing it in
Yeah.
is because it needs to be expressed through the body.
Yeah. Through
And the
us,
more,
through our
yeah,
humanity. Yeah.
and the more that we deal with the um, garbage, the trash that we're holding, the more we can actually bring in, as you said, soul gifts, the more we can bring in that channel, we can be
Yeah.
that conduit
We are
here.
it. That's the word. We vessel that our soul gets to express through. So the vessel
Yeah,
has to be planted and anchored
yeah,
and really aware of its surroundings and
yeah.
how it reacts to things, and um, yeah, yeah,
And yes, to people talking about, maybe there is a lot of people that might eat a certain way or take care of their vessel with that sort of means.
yeah.
But you also need to offset that with doing that emotional work, because clearing that subconscious, the emotion,
Mm.
the patterns, the contracts, the anything like that is also impinging on the ability for the merging of the spirit and the humanness.
That's it. But you still have to be like, have that awareness of what's happening for you at a human level to be
Mm.
able to clear a lot of those contracts and those
Yeah.
vows, those imprints and past or
Mm-hmm.
parallel life experiences that are still impacting your reality,
Mm-hmm.
your life right now. But that it comes, that recognition and that awareness comes through in a physical way, usually, whether it's something
Mm-hmm.
body that's happening or whether it is a reflection because you're triggered or react to something in a certain way. Like we have to be here and really anchored to our physical form, and our humanness to even receive that awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
um,
Yes.
it's got to drop in somewhere. It has to drop in, wherever it's coming from. It's got to be able to
Mm-hmm.
drop in and anchor and be like, okay, I can see this now, um, to be able to be addressed.
And the body itself holds so much wisdom and intelligence, cosmic intelligence as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we forget that, we bypass the fact that the body actually is far more intelligent than we maybe give it credit for.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And so allowing ourselves to even just be open to the body, like this, like I think I speak to so many people, and I was like this for a long time as well, in opposition to the body. My body's not doing the right thing for me. Like my body was something that I disliked,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
resentful of, frustrated with.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, of course, because I've created a separation from that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so bringing that sense of awareness as well to the body's on your team. The
Yeah.
body's part of you. It's family.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's a big
Mhm.
messenger. Yeah.
Mhm. Well, this has been such an illuminating conversation, hasn't it? Like, I really feel like it took a life of its own from where we started to where we ended up.
Thank you for joining us in this space of truth, reflection, and connection. If today's conversation stirred something within you, we invite you to sit with it, journal on it, or share it with someone who walks the path of self-awareness too.
These conversations are living transmissions, and we are so grateful to be on this journey with you. Until next time, remember your human experience is sacred and you are never walking alone.
With love, Lauren
and Ali.